most games have an experience system or a way of leveling up, whether that be yourself or your profile, a character, a weapon, and so on. And Hell Let Loose, this is no different. Hell Let Loose has several type of experience systems, one regarding your personal profile and one regarding the units you use or the classes you use, such as the medic class, the commander class, the tank commander, and so on. And in this video, we're going to talk about the experience system and how it works and the different things that go into the experience system. First and foremost, Hell Let Loose is divided between two different experience systems. One being for your overall profile, and then one per class, as you see on screen. I have one for my rank, which in this case it was 153, and then you have the classes I used over the course of the game. Now, with that out of the way, we need to talk about what actually goes into the experience system and what are some big numbers and big things to note. So, I have a picture of a leaderboard here of a recent game I just played. And there's some numbers and emblems we need to take a note of. So, if you look at the top of the leaderboard on the Axis and Allied leaderboards, you'll see 4 emblems that are spaced out with numbers below them. They are the following in order: combat effectiveness, offensive effectiveness, defensive effectiveness, and support effectiveness. Now, what do these symbols mean? What's their big importance? So we'll go in order here. So combat effectiveness basically comes down to how well you're fighting. And this talks about how many enemies you're able to wipe out, how many tanks you're able to destroy, garrisons you can destroy, supplies, and so on. And I will lay out basically a spreadsheet of what correlates to what in different values later in the video. The second thing being offensive effectiveness basically means how long you are in the red zone sectors. Every minute you get 10 points to the score every minute you're in the red zone. And the other one, defensive effectiveness, is how long you're in the blue zone, meaning you'll get 10 points to the score for every minute you spend in the blue zone. And the last one we have is the support effectiveness. This one has a huge laundry list of what applies to it. Just for a couple examples, making garrisons, outposts, deploying supplies from both trucks or support supply, building fortifications, and so on. I'll have a huge list of what all this applies to, and I'll probably miss a couple, but who knows. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But those are the 4 main categories that you will be graded on, at least to yourself and your squad. Now, continuing on that, there are several other categories that will be graded at the end of the match, which we're going to touch on now. So let's get into the numbers bit of it. So if you look at the bottom of the leaderboard screen in Love Squad, you'll see me, Chaotic Hammer, and some stat numbers. So as we went through the 4 different categories of the leaderboard, you'll see 4 numbers. You'll see 849 for combat effectiveness, 400 for offensive effectiveness, 440 for defensive effectiveness, and 1080 for support effectiveness. Now, when you add up these numbers, yes, we're going to do some math. I know people are probably cringing at the bit. When you add all these numbers up, you get a total of 2,769 total points across all 4 categories. Now, why is this important? Why do we need to do some math here? Well, that's the score that goes into your gameplay category, as you see on screen now. That's what adds up to your gameplay. So what this essentially means is that that score will go to your overall profile rank score. Now, other numbers that you want to keep note when seeing your profile experience score is your squad score. So this is a combination of what all your squad does on combat, attack, defense, and support. As you see on screen, you'll see 1750, 800, 960, and 2870 was our squad scores across all 4 categories. And as you'll see on screen now, this is now shown as your profile experience, as you'll see it ranking up on all 4 categories. The next category that you'll be counted for is time bonus. Now, this took a little bit to potentially figure out, and I still could be a little bit wrong on this, but what I could find is it takes on how long you are in that game for, depending on if you're in a match for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45, so on and so forth. This match, I was in the lobby for about an hour, so I got about 253. In another match, I got 198 for about 30 minutes played. So that was the conclusion I came to with the time bonus. The next thing we want to talk about is commendation bonus. Now, this is a bonus that comes from people giving you a commendation at the post-battle screen. They go over to your name, select you, and give you a commendation. You can have up to 5 of these, meaning you can get a 50% bonus XP if you really did that well in battle, and people notice you. So that's a good way to strive for more XP as well. And last but not least, you have the match win or lose bonus, where if you win the match, you get 50% more XP. If you lose the match, you still get a 25% XP bonus, basically for playing. Now that's mostly talking about your profile or overall experience. How does this correlate to your class or the class you're playing? So I've dipped to another screen where I played a lot of different classes. So basically, whatever you do in those classes, you get points for. So, as you see on screen, I played 6 different classes. So, how does it correlate? Well, say at the first one I did Rifleman. Say I did 40 points of whatever. Maybe I was in the offensive zone for 4 minutes on end and did absolutely nothing. I'd get 40 points for that. But then after that I got killed, and I swapped to Automatic Rifleman, did a little more. Say I got a couple kills, was in the offensive zone for a couple minutes, I get the 140 points, and so on. So whatever your class does, or what class you are in, when you get points, those points, regardless of what category they are in, falls to that class. And we'll touch on how that can be really significant in a minute. Now, I'm going to keep it simple and just put everything on a list. That way it's simple for you and simple for me. Now, quick disclaimer, and this goes for a couple of the lists I have here. Being on console, it is very hard to get every single number of every single thing in game that could add to your XP, like on the combat effective list and the support list. There's probably 1 or 2 or a couple I may be missing out on, but these are a lot of the major ones, and I've tried to confirm as many of them as I can. I do have a little thing at the bottom saying, it's unconfirmed or an estimate, so take those ones with a grain of salt, but a lot of these are confirmed. You guys can do it in game. The only thing is if PC has something different than console, but a lot of these should be pretty well spot on. And on one side you have the infantry list, on another side you have the vehicle list, such as if you take down a heavy tank, a rifleman, a repair center, and so on. I'm just trying to keep it simple. Screenshot this, do what you need to do. The next 2 are pretty simple. It's basically you spend a minute in either the blue or the red zone and you get 10 points for it. That's all there is to the next 2 of offensive and defensive effectiveness. And lastly, we have support effectiveness, which is probably the largest list in terms of what you can do to make points, as a lot of it is centered around things like engineer and commander, just to name 2 of the major classes that can benefit from this category. But other classes like officer, support, most of the classes have some way of getting support points, whether that's through dropping ammo, if you're a commander, dropping airstrikes, doing truck runs, driving players up to the front, driving a vehicle like a truck or just a regular transport truck up to the front. There's so many ways to get support effectiveness points. Like I said, I'm just going to put the list up there, screenshot, look at, but these are a lot of the items that can help you get support effectiveness points. Now, it'd be pretty mean of me if I didn't include at least one way to get faster XP for any of your classes, so here it is. It's by going engineer and building nodes. And I get it. You hear engineer and you're like, wait, that doesn't apply to all classes. Well, give me a minute. You want to build nodes, and the nodes are a huge thing for both you and your team. So, on top of just providing resources for the commander, which they can use to call in more stuff, which is just nice to have, each node provides 40 support effectiveness score. So, you get 3 of them, you get 120. But the main thing is because they produce resources. Each minute that one singular node is alive, regardless of which one, you get 10 points. times that by 3, because why wouldn't you build all 3 of your nodes at that point? You get 30 points a minute, on top of the 120 you would get for building the nodes in general. Now, you could swap classes and level up another class. So say you go engineer for 2 minutes, you build your nodes, and you want to play rifleman. Just throwing one out of the hat. At that point, so say you play for 50 minutes, you played engineer for 2, so 48 minutes left. You play rifleman for the next 48 minutes. For those next 48 minutes that you play, for the rest of the match, you get the 30 points per minute added to your rifleman experience score. So at the end of the match, you should notice your rifleman score, in this example, should be a lot higher than your engineer score, because more points went to that class because you were playing that class at the time that you got the points. So that's one way you can level up your classes very fast by simply going engineer and building your nodes. Unfortunately, though, your team can only have 3 nodes per team. So if they're already built, you are kind of crap out of luck. But if you don't have them up, build them fast. Even if it's just 1, that's still more points you're getting as a passive bonus than if you didn't build any at all. Now, I do want to touch on one final thing before the end of the video, and that is the commander and how the XP or the experience for the commander is applied. So, as the commander, for your overall experience, and as far as I can tell, your class experience as well, it depends on how well your team does as a whole. So, it combines all of your team's scores. That means your attack, defense, their combat efficiency, their support effectiveness, all of those scores go to your score as a whole, because you're the one leading them. On top of everything else you're doing as a whole, dropping supplies, calling in bombing runs, and so on. So as a commander, you get overall XP of your team. And on top of that, usually commanders do get some commendations, so keep that in mind as well. The Hell Let Loose experience system as a whole can seem a little complex to digest and a little hard to understand, but upon a further review, it's not really as difficult. Sure, I couldn't possibly find every tiny little thing that can go into the experience system. On console, that's just way too hard. There's no private servers, there's nothing like that, and it's really hard to get someone on the other team to test that out, and that's just a lot more time than what it's worth. So I hope you took away something, at least with the lists and everything I provide with you and just how it works, so you can get your classes up to speed a lot faster. They can get better weapons, so you can unlock things like satchel charges and other classes alike. I hope you take away something from this video. Once again, I appreciate your time and watching, and I'll see you in the next video.